Another response video to Anekantavad. Depressive Realism 2 really doesn't have anything to do with that. So overall he's arguing for this, whatever, moral nihilism, nihilism period, value relativism versus value realism, and he's keeps saying the word "give me proof," and he doesn't argue anybody's proofs. So you give him a proof and he doesn't respond to it, he doesn't say anything, so what are you supposed to do? He's just got his agenda, and like a preacher, he just won't hear any other argument. He'll just keep preaching it, and you can keep saying, "No, that never happened, sir, that never happened," and he'll just keep saying it because he doesn't care. He doesn't have to account for it. Nobody can say it in his little box there, and so he can get away with it. And that's all that's happening here. I mean, it's just, some of it is just such, well, let's go through it. It's only 2 minutes, so it should only take me about 30 minutes to get through it.
To say that a depressive person has a more accurate assessment of reality than a non-depressed person, one has to first assume that there is such a thing as an accurate assessment of reality.
Assume it. They can't deduce it. They can't understand it. They can't say, think it's, well, I have the two choices here. Reality is not consistent, not durable, not real, not here. We're not in something called a reality, whatever it is, that has that we can consume through lenses and through different instruments a huge amount of voluminous amount of information in tiniest things. This pen has got loads of construction in it. The whole universe is a preposterously massive construct, and we can observe it and watch it and understand it, and we can dig up bones from billions of years, and yeah, I would say that it's only rational to deduce that we exist in a reality that has a very durable character, a very durable character, and there's pretty much almost absolutely no evidence of any indurability, of any phantoms flowing through any of this stuff, the space, the matter. It doesn't transform, it doesn't shape shift, there's no mumbo jumbo here. Yeah, so that's not enough though. That logical perception that here it is, I know my origins as a sensible organism, one that senses the world, it's perceiving the bits and pieces of energy flying about, and is constructing them into durable descriptions of form and shape and function. It's pretty solid to me. Seems that's the way to go. No unicorns. I don't see any glitter farts from the unicorn flowing through the air in my room here anywhere, or anywhere else I've ever been in my existence, or I haven't seen any evidence of any of that. Come on.
Which I don't believe is necessarily the case, or if someone is going to say that it is the case, they're going to have to prove it.
Yeah, well, how can is there some way I can force you to deal with the proof? Is there some way I can force you to account for all the voluminous evidence we have of a material reality, of function, of properties of matter, durable properties of matter? You don't believe that matter has durable, non-mutable properties? Gravity is always gravity. Electricity is always electricity. No, these things aren't phantoms.
For example, in a small way, I can demonstrate that our view of reality is biased or flawed.
No, you won't do that. So this is your kind of evidence? This is what you call a proof of something? Let's hold up something and talk about all the properties it have that are completely irrelevant to what we know the thing to be. So yeah, let's look at a car and start analyzing the rust underneath the frame, or mud on the bottom of the carriage, and say that's car now. No.
What's this? It's a can of chickpeas, a can of hummus actually, prepared with tahini and that sort of thing. No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Because it's other things besides being a can of pea, because you can describe other elements of its properties, other elements of its function, because atoms have electrons in them and atomic nuclei, it does not mean you don't call them atoms anymore. It does not mean that they no longer have their properties anymore, because now you're saying it's an electron matrix, or you want to call it something else. It doesn't change the fact that it's a helium atom or a carbon atom. That fact still remains a fact. It still has all the properties of being the thing you described it as. And because you're going to look deeper and take it apart, doesn't change what it is. Again, I can describe different parts on a car. I can describe the fender. I can describe the steering wheel. But no one says it's no longer a car because I'm now calling it a device with a steering wheel. That would be silly. To say it's lost its properties? No, it didn't lose anything because you decided to talk about its parts.
It's a jumble of matter, energy, and above all, empty space. It's...
Yes, that has specific, identifiable properties and function. Durable properties and function.
Chickpea-ness is something that we have... Chickpea-ness. Freudian slip there.
I don't know. This is just kind of a weird slip, to tell you the truth. Yeah, but whatever.
Something that we have imposed upon it. It's according even to hard science.
Well, no, not according to any hard science. We didn't impose anything on it by labeling it. That's not an imposition. Calling something a name, without like doing it to hurt its feelings, is not an imposition. It's a rational process. Yes, labeling things with identifiable, uniquely identifiable, segmentable, segregatable properties and function is a rational process. It's what something that contains a logical program would do. If a computer is assigned the task of playing chess, well then it would be perfectly sensible for it to go through some programming routine where it identifies what the movable pieces are and where they can move and how they can move, and to have a whole compilation of an understanding of the rules. And part of the rules of life is that we have varieties of food and that we process them and put them in cans. Not at all complicated, not at all mysterious, not at all subject to interpretation, or it's somehow a wobbly fact, or it's not really proved. No, it's pretty much proven. You had a can of chickpeas in your hand.
All this is matter, energy, empty space, which are ultimately functions of each.
That's not all it is. Again, all a car is not a steering wheel and a seat belt and carpeting. That's not what it is. It's not carpeting. It's not its parts. It's also what the arrangement of the parts are and what they do in terms of a function. And those things can be identified. We can identify things that function durably, reliably, in a specific manner and put them in a category of car.
Each other. Now, apply that to everything that we see in the normal course of events of a day.
Right. So sometimes, yes, it's fun to think about what's happening in the universe. And you could even think about it deterministically. Think about all the zillions of little parts and how they're all limited in terms of what they're capable of doing. And they have a little tiny narrow function and ability. And just think about a chess game with 7 zillion squares and, you know, whatever, 45 bazillion pieces, just make up really big numbers. And yeah, the game would end up being incredibly complicated. But the rules are still really simple. It's still the same game. Catch the piece, kill the piece. Nothing more happening.
And you'll see just how biased our view of reality is.
It's not a bias, okay? I mean, ignorance of important detail will corrupt your perception, right? So, there's people who were axe murderers and they walked around on the street looking real normal and behaving like real people and all that kind of stuff. And so that ignorance, the fact that they fooled us was because we were ignorant. And but to use the word bias implies a perversion or distortion. We're not distorting a can of peas by not recognizing all of its material components, by not recognizing how many calories are in it and how many carbon molecules are in it, or how many free radical ions are floating about in it. We're not prejudicing its identity by doing that. So it's wrong to say we're distorting our perception of its properties and function by not acknowledging all of those things. We don't need to acknowledge those things or even understand those things or even have any contemplation of those things to properly understand properties and function.
We've got to back up if we're going to say that we can place value on reality itself.
Okay, so now he's changed the subject. You see that? Now he's saying, look, let's talk about matter, and now let's talk about values in the same 2-minute video. Sneaky move. And that's all it was, is a sneaky move. Yeah.
A lot of people might think that this is quibbling and crazy and really pushing things far beyond the limits of what is necessary.
Yeah, I think it's a bias perversion. I think it's a deliberate, willful, fully cognizant effort on your part to confuse and distort and pervert, to bias people's perspective in terms of causing them some sort of dissidence that doesn't need to exist, for a purpose to evade and escape a concept of responsibility, because I think in your life you have done things that scare you at night or something, and you need to do this somehow to validate yourself, to regain your honor. Okay, you've disgraced the Corps, and somehow if you make the crime you committed not a crime in the eyes of other people, that somehow that'll make you feel better, or something like that. That's all I can assume, because this isn't rational philosophy. This isn't like a sensible Mr. Spock looks at and he can't figure it out. He can't figure out that a can of chickpeas is a can of chickpeas. Mr. Spock is confused. Oh, the universe is confusing. No, I can't figure out what it is. I can't figure out its function. I can't figure out its useful purpose to sentient feeling things. No, it's too confused. No, I don't think Mr. Spock would be at all confused. I don't think anybody doing any deliberate, honest analysis, a scientist looking through the microscope trying to figure out what the bacteria, why does it do this certain thing? He wouldn't come up with this kind of bullshit. He wouldn't play this kind of game to come up with some sort of unicorn answer. The answer is quite obvious. If you want to see it, it's right there in front of you. It's not complicated. Matter consolidates, it bangs into each other, it groups together, and it forms new bits that have new properties and new function. Not complicated.
But I would say no, it's not. Because we're placing value on existence, on reality itself.
What does that even mean? Do you know what that means? I don't know what that means. What are we placing value on? I'm placing value personally. Okay, I don't know about the rest of you, but for my playing with life, playing with it, touching it, feeling it, breathing it, tasting it, messing with it, what I've noticed is that I have different sensations. Some of those sensations are relieving and comforting and warm and enjoyable and soothing and all those good kind of words. And some of those sensations are obnoxious and revolting and compel me to do something to get to that comfortable place. They take me away from my comfort. They take me out of comfort and put me in a place that's not comfortable. And that's the primary, as I can see personally, the primary function of my biology, is my consciousness, is this process of sensation. And I have knowledge of the fact that if I do certain things, I'll feel a certain way, and if I do certain other things, I'll end up feeling another way, and that those things can be put into categories of good behavior, bad behavior, behavior that's going to be productive and destructive. I also understand that there are 7 billion other humans and trillions of other sentient mammals on this ball that I'm hurling through space on, and that they have a similar mechanism of sensation, a similar mechanism, a similar capacity to be put in places that are repulsive and repugnant and unpleasant, and that it would be preferable that we migrate as many things into that comfortable place as possible. That's my impression of the material universe, and I don't think there's anything you can say to say that's not accurate, that that's flawed somehow, that that's not, that there's some fact of the atomic structure or the atoms or whatever you're saying exists, the empty space, that somehow the empty space means that's not really happening. That's not what's really happening. You want to show me how some fact you have of how the matter and energy are moving, because you understand the fact of the matter and the energy and the empty space. You think the empty space means something. You want to explain how that fact changes the description I just gave of my experience of being a living sentient being at this moment in time. Oh, I don't hear anything. Yeah, probably won't hear anything.
This is one of the most fundamental questions of them all, and
I mean, this guy talks like he has the secret, but he doesn't have. No, it is not. What is the question you just asked? That I can't understand what it is to be alive? I can't understand what it is to be a living, sentient being on the planet identified as Earth in the solar system called the solar system? Does seem like we should have given the solar system a name, right? We gave the planets all names. We did call it Jerry or something. Can't call it something? Solar system? That doesn't seem very polite. We really should give it some kind of name.
don't think one can get too nitpicky over this.
Again, I don't think you're getting nitpicky in the sense of, wow, there's something necessary that we need to investigate. We need to investigate because there's something important here. There's a truth that science and human philosophy and human psychology, we all need to understand this. There's something really important if we pursue this empty space concept. Yeah, there's really something in this empty space phenomenon of matter that completely and fundamentally changes what's happening to us as complex material organisms arranged to function with a reflexive neural network that produces the phenomenon of sentience, that is somehow a vital fact, that it's really a checkerboard with chess pieces and it's got this mechanics that run the elements, and that the elements run the compounds, and that the compounds run the I don't know what the life forms. I mean, I don't know what you call the biology. Yeah, so all these things are run by the mechanisms of the forces that run the matter in the universe, and that there's something in there, there's some fact that's just got to be resolved, and if we don't resolve that fact, we don't know what reality is. Well, you're not showing me any evidence of that. You have shown me, offered me nothing for me to say my senses aren't a reliable collector of as much possible information data out of the environment as is practical. They're highly developed, highly functional. They glean the most information possible with the least amount of energy utilization, incredibly well oriented, and that the processing is durable. The logic can be quite credible. It can have a high standard of quality if we're careful in processing. You're not showing any lack of caution. You're not showing any, not even a spark, the smallest little quantum blip of reason to doubt that a can of chickpeas is a can of chickpeas. Oh, done. So anyway, yeah, this is just so. This is, what is the agenda of this guy? What is? Because that's all you can start asking, because this is absolute bullshit, right? I mean, there's no reason to make videos attempting to say that, look, you're digging a hole in the ground, you better be careful, you might hit a unicorn. I mean, somebody says that to you, right? You're digging a hole in the ground, some crazy person comes up to you pretending to be normal, maybe he has an axe in his hand, I don't know. Well, anyway, pretending to be normal, and starts telling you, be careful, there might be a unicorn. What? And then it goes on YouTube, and and you're like, why am I dealing with this? Why is this conversation? Why is this where the conversation goes? I mean, I have this, theory, that, well, I mean, I can give a reason why you dig holes. You could be burying shit. But I mean, there's this whole theory of our existence, and it doesn't create, there's nothing in it. There's nothing in the statement of it, evolution, that's at all mysterious or scary or wobbly or mystical. Why do I need some bullshit? I mean, why are we saying, why are you people, the audience people, why are you saying 10 people, 10 thumbs up for just absolute nonsense video? Why do you think evolution's in doubt? What are you people? Yeah, I don't get it. Alright, so anyway. There's an agenda here. There's an agenda. This has got to be. This is silly talk.